We begin now at the top of Daf Peyam and Beis Meseches Shabbos. This is Shabbos Daf 80b. The Gemara begins with a brisa. Taner Rabbanan, we learned in a brisa. Hamotzi say if somebody carries hair, kedei legabel bo satet. The shear is the amount that is used to knead mud. Tit, if somebody carries mud on Shabbos. Lasos pikor shel tzorfei zav. The amount is the amount that is used to make a bellows pipe of those who fashion gold. Then the Mishnah said sid kedei losud. It said that the shear of plaster is the amount to plaster a small girl. Tana, we learned in a brisa, kedei losud etzbo ketana shebebanos. What it means is the smallest finger on one of the young girls. Rashi here says etzbo ketana darkon losud es kol aguf lahadim. They used to put this plaster on the entire body to make it red for the skin color, the skin tone, and so this is referring to the smallest limb on this young girl. Amar Rav Yehuda Amar Rav. Rav Yehuda says in the name of Rav, Benos Yisrael shehigiu lepirkon. If when the young daughters of Israel would reach their age, velo higiu l'shanim, but they wouldn't be of the proper years. Rashi here explains, shehigiu lepirkon velo higiu shehiviu shtei saros. Let's say a young girl would have two hairs, she would mature physically, velo bo l'chlal shanim haruuyas lakach, but she wasn't really the proper age. She wasn't really that age yet where she would. So it's essentially a girl who matured quickly, umisbaishas bedavar, and she was embarrassed. So those benos Yisrael. So what would they do in such a situation? So benos aniyim, when they were poor, tovlos osan besid, they would use plaster to remove the hair. That's the way they would avoid the embarrassment. Benos ashirim, if they were wealthy, tovlos osan besolas, then they would use fine flour for the same purpose. Benos malachim, and if they were the daughters of kings, tovlos osan beshemen hamor, they would use shemen hamor. Shenemar, like it says, shisha chadashim beshemen hamor. This is in Megillas Esther. They spent 6 months with the shemen hamor. So the Gemara says, "My shemen hamor." What was shemen hamor? Rav Huna bar Chiya Amar sateches. He says it refers to sateches. The Mesoras Hashas says that sateches perish shemen mevusam. It was a sweet-smelling oil. Again, that's what the daughters of kings would use, all for the same purpose. The Gemara continues. Rav Yirmiyah bar Abba Amar shemen zayis shelo hevi shlish. Rav Yirmiyah bar Abba says it wasn't sateches. The shemen hamor was olive oil that hadn't grown. The olives had not grown a third. Tanya, we learned in a brisa. Rav Yehuda Omer. Rav Yehuda says on piknon. What is on piknon that's mentioned in the Mishnah in Menachos? Shemen zayis shelo hevi shlish. Again, it's the same thing. It's olive oil that hasn't reached a third. V'lo masacheno, so and why do they anoint with it? Shemesher it's asar, it removes the hair. Umad and habasar, and it softens the skin. Rav Vevi havale brata. Rav Vevi had a daughter. Tafla aver. He put this oil on her limb by limb. Shakal ba dalid meozuzi. And when he married her off, he took 400 zuz. She became very beautiful. Have ahu nachri b'shevavuse. There was a certain non-Jew in his neighborhood. Havale brata. He also had a daughter. Tafla b'chad zimna. He put the oil on in one shot. Umesan, she died. Amar, and he said, Kato Rav Vevi livrati. Rav Vevi killed my daughter. I tried to copy him, and it ended up that my daughter died. It was too much at once. Amar Rav Nachman says, Rav Vevi the shasi shichra. Rav Vevi who drank beer, bayon bin se tafla. So his daughters needed this oil. And none, but we, the lo shasin and shichra, we don't drink beer. Lo bayon bin san tafla. Our daughters don't need this in order to improve their skin. The Gemara continues. Rabbi Yehuda Omer. Rabbi Yehuda says, "Kedei lasud kilkul." That when it comes to plaster, the amount is to put plaster on a kilkul. And then Rav Nechemia said it was to put plaster on andife. The Gemara wants to know what these things are. My kilkul or my andife? What is kilkul and what is andife? Amar Rav. Rav says tzida uvas tzida. It's the area of the temple and the area right below the temple. L'meimra, so the Gemara says, does that mean to say the shira de Rabbi Yehuda nafish? That Rabbi Yehuda, who says it's the temple, that's the larger shear? Hakaimal and the shir de Rabbanan nafish. We said earlier that the Rabbanan have the larger shear, and that Rabbi Yehuda actually is the one who's strict. So the Gemara says, no, zuta mid Rabbanan v'nafish mid Rab Nechemia. No, you're correct. He has a smaller shear from the Rabbanan, and he's stricter than the Rabbanan, but Rab Nechemia has an even smaller shear than he does. His shear is larger than Rab Nechemia, so there's actually 3 different levels, 3 different shitas, and Rab Nechemia is the most strict about carrying on Shabbos this item. Meisvei, so the Gemara asks from a Tosefta on this explanation of Kilkul and Andife. Again, we said that Kilkul was Tzida, it was the temple, and Andife was Bas Tzida, the area right below it. So the Gemara asks, it says in the Tosefta, Amar Rebbe says, Nir in Divrei Rabbi Yehuda b'chavot. The Rabbi Yehuda who says the Kilkul, he says it's talking about the temple, that's talking about a diluted kind of plaster. B'divrei Reb Nechemia b'veisas hasid. And Reb Nechemia who says Andife, he's talking about a thicker kind of plaster. So the Gemara says, now if Rabbi Yehuda was talking about Tzida and Rabbi Nechemia was talking about Bas Tzida, you always use diluted plaster. That can't be what we're talking about. So the Gemara says it must be that Andifi means something else. So Elam Rabbi Yitzchak, rather Rabbi Yitzchak says, Amri Devei Rav Ami, that they said in the yeshiva of Rav Ami, Andifa. What Andife is, it's Andifa. So the Gemara asks, we'll see Rashi what these things are. The Gemara asks, Maskiv lo Rav Kahana. Rav Kahana says, V'chi adam osa ma'osa van paros. That's going to cause a loss of money if it's andifa. Elam Rav Kahana shenosus. Rather, Rav Kahana says, no, you know what andifa is? It's shenosus. Kedetnan, as we learned in the Mishnah, shenosus hayu behin. There were shenosus, there were indications, and the hin. The hin was a measurement that they used for the libations, the nesachim. Adkan lepar, adkan la'ayel, adkan lekevis. And there was a little simon used with made with plaster. This is the amount you need for a cow. This is the amount you need for a ram. This is the amount you need for a sheep. Or you could say, May andifa apusa. What is andifa? Andifa is apusa. That would be like the forehead. V'chiha dahu bar Galil de'ikla leBavel. There was a story of a certain person from Galil who went to Bavel. The Amrule, they said to him, Kum derosh lanu b'maisa merkava. They said, tell us a little bit about the maisa merkava. Amar Louis said to them, Edrosh l'chu k'dedorish Reb Nechemia l'chavrei. I'm going to say the same drasha that Reb Nechemia said to his friends. Benafka ara'isa min kosel. So then an ara'isa came out of a kosel, which was a wasp. Umachte ve'andife, and then it hit him in the forehead. That's where you see that it's a forehead. Umis, and he died. V'amru, and they said, V'amru, and they said to him, in delay dalay. It was fitting that it happened to him. He shouldn't have been darshaning in the Maisim Merkavas. Okay, so going back now to Rashi, question is, what's andifa mean? Rashi is going to have two explanations, and Rashi says as follows. First explanation, andifa, klecheres. So what the Reb Nechemia, when he said that you use the plaster for andifa, was talking about using it for a piece of pottery. Veloshne dadin, it had two openings, achas lamala v'achas lamata. One was on top and one was on the bottom. Uchsherotza lemalosa, when a person wants to fill up this clay vessel, sose meshador atachton, he would close off the bottom with plaster. Veloshan andife shtei pios. The word andife means two mouths. Kedetanya, as we learned in a brayso, malin b'diyufe v'tosefta goras ba'andife. Okay, so different gersos. And then the Gemara said, well, that doesn't make sense. A person's going to use plaster for that purpose. On paros, it's going to be a loss of money. Hefsid lossam yayin b'chli sasam b'sid. It's a loss of money to put wine in a vessel which is closed off with plaster. Vayayin v'macha sid v'yotze. What's going to happen is the wine is going to melt the plaster. It's going to leave, and you're going to end up losing wine. So then the Gemara said, you're right. We'll give a different explanation. Gemara said it's really shinosus, shinsus. Simonim, it means signs. What's the idea? Rashi says, klecheres gadol. They used to have a big vessel of clay. V'yeshbo blitos kamina gozim ketanim, and had little kind of indications on it along the side. Adkan l'sa'ah, adkan l'sasayim. Until here is a sa'ah. Until here is a sasayim. These are measurements. V'sodin oso besid, and they would put these areas, which these indents, they would put plaster over it. Kedei sheyu levanos v'nikar, so it would be white and it would be clear. So essentially, it was a way of measuring, of showing the measurements of this vessel, of where the volume was of each amount. Kedetanan, as we learned in the Mishnah, b'menachos shinsas hayu behin. In the hin, there were different indications, there were different indentations. Adkan lepar chatzia hin, it was a chatzia hin for a par. Adkan lo ayel shlishas hin, these were different amounts of nesachim. It was a third of a hin for an ayel. Adkan lekeves revias hin, it was a quarter of a hin for a keves. Tichsiv chatzi hahin yil apar v'gomer. That's what the pasuk says. Kain lashon mori hazakin mipi aviv shasham mir b'shemin. So Rashi says this is what he heard from his Rebbe, who heard from his father, who heard from Rabbi Shimon, that is the explanation of, again, andifa, that it was these measurements along a vessel of clay. Now he says, my rabbis explained, andifa kol haguf, that actually andifa is not referring to a vessel, it's referring to the fact that they would put, according to Reb Nechemia, they would use this plaster on the whole body. And the purpose wasn't to remove hair, it was to redden the skin, so it needed to be a little thicker. So according to that, Rabbi Yehuda was using it for hair purposes, kilkul, and then the opinion of Reb Nechemia was the shear for plaster, and it was a little thicker. That's what we're saying in the Bryce and the Tosefta. The shear was in order to redden the skin, so it was a little thicker. So then the Gemara said, on paros, you're going to use it for that, it's going to be a loss. What does that mean? She'eno sad bo bito la'achar shekano t'chay shematamas kibarate daunachri. Just like the daughter of the non-Jew died when they did the whole body in one shot, it was too much. So too over here, no one's going to do that. No one's going to use it for the whole body. So why would that make sense to be the shear? Shinsus, which means, according to this second explanation, kolomar aver yitzvalan. Of course, you're going to do it limb by limb. V'efshar b'loshen zeh. V'lo nemar shitas hashaskin. He says to call a limb shinsos is not normal for the Gemara. Lahazkir aver b'loshen shinsos. V'yitzdarech lavi perish leperush shinsos hayabhin. So according to the second version, the Gemara brings in this whole thing with the hin, with the libations, because it's not a normal way to say shinsos. So the Gemara is like explaining itself. what does Rav Kahana mean when he uses the word shinsos? Oh, it comes in the Gemara and explains, it's like this Mishnah in Menachos, shinsos is a way of measuring, so here it's used as limb by limb. So that's Rav Kahana. So Rav Kahana says instead of explaining that it's the whole body at once, it was limb by limb. And then finally the Gemara said apusa, which we said was padachas, which was the forehead, shalom makom seir, again not an area of hair, ulahadim, and the purpose was to make it red, aroisa tzira, again that was a wasp, bandife padachto in his forehead. And we said min delay dole. This was fitting to him. Mido haisazos lo shelo hayalo lidrash b'merkava. He shouldn't have said drushes in the Ma'aser Merkava, and that's why it was fit for this Bar Galil to die in this fashion. Gemara continues with the Mishnah Adam when it comes to klei kechotzim hamarutzaf and divrei Rabbi Akiva. The shear is the amount that's used as a signet over a sack that's used for large merchandise. The Chachamim say kechotzim haigaros. It's like the signet that's over a letter, a much smaller amount. Zevel v'chol hadak. A person has manure or he has thin sand. Kedei lezavel. Klach shel kruv, it's the amount that is used to fertilize a stalk of cabbage. Divrei Rabbi Akiva, that's Rabbi Akiva's opinion. The Chachamim say, Kedei lezavel krisha, it's in order to fertilize leek. Chol hagas, large sand, Kedei liten al molek kafsid, in order to put it on a spoon of plaster. The Gemara will explain that. Kone a reed, Kedei lasos kulmus, in order to make a quill. Vim haya avo merusas, now if the reed is thick, so it can't be used for a quill, or it's cracked and it can't be used for a quill. Kedei lavashel bo beitzakala shebebeitzim trufa unasuna beilfis. It's enough of a reed in order to use as fuel to cook the lightest of eggs that is mixed up and placed in the frying pan. The Gemara will explain that as well. The Gemara says al molei kafsid, to put it on the spoon of a plaster. Tana, we learned in a brayso kedei litan al pikaf shel sayad, and we're talking about the plaster as trowel, the amount that you put on the trowel. That's the amount that is not allowed to be carried on Shabbos. Gemara says, Man Tana dechol mali leilasid. Now, who is this Tana who says that sand is something good to put into plaster? The whole point of this is to say the shear for sand, and we're saying you're adding it to your plaster. Who says that's good? Amar Rav Chisda. Rav Chisda says Rabbi Yehuda. That's the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda. The Tanya will learn in a brayso lo yasud adam es beso besid. A person shouldn't put plaster on his house nowadays because of the Churban Beis HaMikdash. We're mourning on Yerushalayim. Elim ken irav bo teven ochol, unless he mixes in straw or sand. So you see, according to the Tanakama, chol is bad for the plaster. Rabbi Yehuda says teven mutter. You can put in straw. Chol aser, but putting in sand already is aser. And they should trachsid, because it makes it stronger, it makes it better. So you see, Rabbi Yehuda holds that the chol improves the plaster. Rav says afilo temer rabbanon. You could even say that we're following the rabbanon kilkulo zeu tikuno, because the Rabbanan are saying, even if you're making it worse, but it really is an improvement, because now you're allowed to use it. Because of the mourning on Yerushalayim, you're not allowed to use this sid unless you put this in. So in effect, it is a tikkun. Rashi does offer another explanation that kilkulo, ruining it in terms of how it looks, zehu tikuno, that makes it stronger, it's still an improvement. Rashi ends up rejecting that, and again, he goes with this explanation, that kilkulo, that the fact that you're ruining it, zehu tikuno, allows you to use it. Gemara continues that the two dots, kana reed kedei lasos kulmis, in order to make a quill. Tana, we learned in a brayso kulmis hamagil kishrei etzbaos, of the quill has to reach the person's knuckles. By Rav Ashi asks kesher elyon or kesher hatachton, the upper or the lower knuckles, teku, that we leave as a question. V'moya av, if it's thick, then it's enough to cook an egg. Tana, we learned in a brayso trufa b'shemen, the egg should be mixed with oil, unasuna be'ilfas, and placed into a frying pan. When it's mixed with oil, it cooks faster, so you need less fuel. Amar le Mar Breder Ravina Livrei. Mar, the son of Ravina, said to his son, Mishmealach beitzakala maihi. Did you hear, what does it mean, a light egg? Amar le said to him, Be'asat silsila. It refers to the egg of a small bird. Gemara says, my time, what's the reason? Misham dezutra, because it's small. Ema detziparta. Why not say a hummingbird? It's the smallest of the birds. Ishtik, he was quiet. Amar le said to him, Midi shmealach ba. Did you hear anything about this? Amar le said to him, Hachi Amar Rav Sheshas. Here's what Rav Sheshas said. Beitzas tarnagolas, it means the egg of a hen. Umay karu le beitzakala, why is that called a light egg? Shiuru chachamim, because the chachamim measured ein lach beitzakala vashal yotzmi beitzas tarnagolas. There's no egg that cooks faster than the egg of a hen, so the beitzas tarnagolas is the easiest one to cook. Therefore, you need the least amount of fuel. Umay shno kol shirei Shabbos kegrogros v'hacha kebeitzas. The Gemara asks, why are we cooking the entire egg? Everything else, when it comes to food on Shabbos, the shear is a grogros, dried fig. So here you have to cook an entire egg. Amar le said to him, Hachi Amar Rav Nachman. Here's what Rav Nachman said: Kegrogros mi beitzakala. You have to cook the amount of a grogros from a beitzakala, from a light egg. So you're not cooking the entire egg. You're taking a grogros from that egg and cooking it, and the amount of kana that you need to cook it. That's the shear that you're not allowed to carry on Shabbos. We'll continue in the next video with Daf Pei Aleph Amud Aleph.